It's a wonderful question, very difficult to answer. I can say that there are a number of conflicts here. This conflict began as part of the Arab Spring, if we remember back to the beginning. And now we've heard about some of the religious overtones. There is also overtones of an international scale, and we see that some have described it as one of the last battles of the Cold War, with various world powers lining up on either side. And what would be required from all governments that are backing one side or the other would be to actually put true pressure to both the government and the warring parties to respect the Geneva Conventions, to end the targeting of civilian spaces, of hospitals, of medical care. Even our own workers have come under fire. We've had to set up some clandestine hospitals. We set up at one stage an inflatable hospital inside a cave to ensure that it wouldn't be bombed from the air. And when we say that it's very difficult to uphold these norms, well, we've seen where governments, including Russia, the US, and others, came together to play a very positive role in this conflict, and that's around removing chemical weapons from the battlefield. When the chemical weapons were used, I was in the region at that time, and 3 hospitals that we had supported with training, with medical equipment, were in the zone that was attacked. Those 3 hospitals received 3,600 people within 3 hours. And in one of those hospitals, we had 100 volunteers and medical staff that responded to the cases that came to them. 70 of those became sick with secondary symptoms. And at that time, we didn't know whether it was a pesticide factory that had been hit, whether there was a chemical dump that had been hit. We had no idea how this occurred or who was behind it. And we also didn't care who was behind it. What we cared about was the fact that it made a mockery of humanitarian protection and of humanitarian assistance. It was in all contraventions to the rules of war. And so we spoke out very vociferously, very loudly at that time, knowing that if it had been the opposition, we would have had difficulties maintaining our surgeries there, and if it had been the government, we would have had difficulties in obtaining access to government-held areas. History will tell whether we did the right thing or not, but one thing certainly seems now to be the case is that through the diplomacy of both the Russians and the US, that it's very less likely that such weapons will be used on that scale again in Syria.